a group of us started Black Farmer Fund because we looked at the wealth inequality that we saw, especially when it came to Black farmers, in terms of the amount of land that they own, the amount of wealth that they have, and found out that there's so much disparities when it comes in inequality when it comes to wealth and when it comes to land access.
We only have 139 Black farmers in New York State out of 57,000. And those Black farmers are making negative $900 while other farmers are making $42,000. So there is a lack of wealth in, the Black community in general, and particularly in the community of farmers. And we knew that we were going to have to put elements of community wealth building into the way that we move money and into the way that we interact with our community, so that way it can actually truly be transformative on a larger scale.
For time and time, we've been waiting for the horse, the knight in the shining armor, to drop money, and promises that have always been broken. So we said, you know what? We're a powerful group of people. Let's think about what communal wealth and social capital means within our community, because collectively, just think about collectively, if we put all our money together, we can change the system in our favor.
Some people think, oh, if I make it to the top, it's going to trickle down. It's nothing like that over here. It's like, how do we all grow together in this? So there's not just one, it's everybody. Everybody has a say. It feels good for everybody. Nobody's being exploited. And I think that's the goal. That's when you talk about building wealth and community, like everybody has to be free.
When I think of community wealth building, what really comes to mind to me is my grandparents. I think of my grandparents in Alabama, both of whom were farmers. So my grandfather grew row crops like soy and corn and such on about 40 acres. And my grandmother grew every single thing that their family ate. Corn, hogs, chicken, all of that. And why that image comes to me is though they were on paper considered poor, probably, certainly by our modern terms and by the urban terms. They were incredibly rich in resources. They were so rich in relationships. And there was a real intentionality about investing in their own community and building what they need through connection. And so I see in that a model for sovereignty that I feel has always been missing in my upbringing in New York City. And I know it's not actually missing. It's like, it just needs to be resourced.
No, I would just love to see, like, anyone who wants a connection to the land to be able to have access to land and find a place to make that happen. I would love to see so much more land in the hands being stewarded by Black folks.
That's one of the ways that we, want to create community wealth, is by placing the power of how and where money gets distributed into the community of Black agricultural workers and owners themselves. So they're dictating where money goes, and that's very rare, within the food system. And so we decided to create a investment committee, which we called in our pilot round our pilot community, with 12 different Black farmers and food business owners and organizers, train them on investment education, financial education, and we co-designed this whole process with the intentions of them making some of the initial decisions.
Funding is just one of the many barriers that keep Black food actors from thriving. Our holistic technical assistance approach works one-on-one with the entrepreneurs that we support to deeply understand what their funding needs are. This could be needing communication support, marketing support, governance support, bookkeeping support, and really looking at the business holistically and really centering that relationship, because we know that the needs of a business are constantly evolving.
It's just so much more supported. It's like, I'm learning this, but when we trellis the tomatoes, they just grow up so much taller and they get more sunlight and they produce more tomatoes because they have the foundational support around them in the form of that trellis. And so we can grow up together stronger because, we can lean and rely on each other.
We knew that we couldn't just be a financial institution that was providing money to people and just leaving and expecting, social impact to come out of it. We knew that we had to invest and look deeper into what are some of the gaps that we're seeing that have, caused an organization like ourselves to exist.
What really sets Black Farmer Fund's funding approach apart from traditional funding vehicles is we don't ask the question of, is this a risky investment? We ask the question of, what is the risk of not investing in this community? And really see the instrumental value of Black farmers, land stewards, food distributors, caterers, restaurant owners, really anyone that has a role in the food system as working interdependently together.
We're working on creating a space where we can have other Black farmers, other farmers of color come and be able to be plugged into that kind of network, be able to learn about farming, be able to have a stake in the company, be able to build generational wealth by owning some of the land that we're farming and growing on, and just being part of a larger community.
Creating a system where we can meet those gaps that are creating these inequities that we're all struggling with.
I want Black people to have access to food. Like, there's like access piece, there's an access piece of like being able to access food that's nourishing, that is life-giving, and that is affordable, that is delicious, all of those things. Just like the future, access isn't even an issue or a question, because there is enough, like, there's always been enough, and there is enough now for us to eat and be well, and like to not have to sacrifice so much to do that. And so just like getting that basic out the way, and like also folks, I think the relationship to land, I think is a big piece for Black people, is having a healthy and regenerative and reciprocal relationship to land that is liberated and healed from so much of the trauma that Black folks experience.
The most important part to me over the last year has been to watch the birth of something that will actually have an impact generations from now in terms of nutrition, wellness, land use, conservation, the environment, and Black empowerment. And as I said, it's going to reverberate for generations to come.
I mean, so I would not be here if it weren't for the elders that fought for the resources, literally fought for little postage stamp squares of land in community gardens in the city. If they didn't fight and then teach me how to do these things, I wouldn't be here today.
I think that there's so much struggle around food and complicatedness around food that's tied to class and like lineage, being so many of us that are the descendants of slaves here and enslaved people here are also living in cities and communities where we don't have access to food, where the food that we do have access to isn't life-giving, it makes us sick. And like we also are forced to be in relationship with this food in a way that we're dependent upon it, even though it's not food that is the best for us. And then we're shamed for like then also only having access to that food. And so there's this like vicious cycle, I think, that needs to be broken and like folks need to be liberated from. And I think that like our relationship to food and our relationship to land are interconnected.
All the racial barriers and oppressions that we faced, whether it comes to housing, whether it comes to accessing capital and resources, whether it comes to all the support networks that don't cater to the individual needs that we actually have and the historical traumas that we faced, we need our own separate touch for these things. So that's why it's so important to start and to do these things now.
We are people of the land, like a lot of us, and we've been displaced and forced to leave the land through, overt racism and violence and systemic economic manipulations. And a lot of Black folks would still be on farms if this country hadn't tried so daggone hard to get us off of our farms. Mm-hmm. And I have no misconceptions that we're gonna right all of those past wrongs, but I feel like in being here and like doing this work that feels good to me, maybe we can create pathways for other people to kind of rediscover it. And if it feels good to them, then maybe they'll end up farming too.